Hey y'all, I'm back with my January 2026 reading wrap up, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Books with Kimberly. Don't forget to like, comment, share my channel, and subscribe. Y'all, I'm back with the books that I read in the month of January 2026. To say I was excited about a new reading year, I only read a total of 5 books. And what's crazy is that I finally set my Goodreads reading challenge goal to 100 books. Usually I keep it to 75 and I secretly hope that I get to 100 books, but because the past few years I have been exceeding 100 books, I was like, girl, go ahead and make your real goal 100 books. But there are 11 months to go, so I have plenty of time to reach my reading goal. Let's get into those 5 books that I read in January. Out of those 5 books, 4 were ebooks and 1 was an audiobook. The first book I read is The Devil Wears Baccarat 3 by Jatoria C. This is book number 3 in her series. This is the younger brother, Roman Baccarat, another interracial romance. So Roman, who is a sociopath diagnosed by his psychiatrist, he ends up falling in love with the psychiatrist and stalking her and all that dark romance stuff. This is a dark romance, so it gets dark. He ends up stalking her and trying to get her to fall in love with him. She's a sociopath, which I could have it mixed up, but either way, both of them aren't all the way there. Brittany, who is the main female character, she's just very sketchy. Like, she be messing around with her boss. So it's nothing for her to start messing around with Roman and have him doing crazy stuff to get her attention. This book wasn't really giving what it needed to give. It took about 50% for them to get together. And then once they did, I wasn't really feeling the romance. I didn't think the plot was really that good. Overall, this wasn't my favorite of the series, and I just wanted a lot more. So I give this book 3 stars. The next book is All For You by BriAnn Danae. This is book number 6 in her erotic love language series, and I believe this is the last one. The main character of this book is Mickey, and she is out having dinner with a friend. She gets a drink bought for her, and it is by this fine gentleman. She ends up running into this very fine gentleman at her job the next day. So I thought this was cute. It didn't give a lot. It was a lot of work drama and her trying to figure out if she's going to pursue dating him. I do think they had good chemistry. It was cute. I give it 3 stars. The next book is You Can Do Damage by K.C. Mills. I was so excited to read this book. Ever since I saw this title, which was some time ago, I just knew I had to read it because Damaged by Her is one of my favorite songs ever. And I'm not even the biggest Her fan. Literally, it's Damaged is like one of the only couple songs I like by her. But that song I played on repeat. I played in a loop. I love that song so much. I actually am going to go listen to it after this video. So I was excited to read this book, but it did not give the song justice. I almost DNF'd this book at 83%. Yes, I wrote it down. 83%. And I just decided to speed read. And if you know what that means, you know what that means. The book is about Nari and Kincaid. Nari is down on her luck. Her cousin left her high and dry, took her money. And sis don't got nowhere to stay because they were evicted from their apartment for being short on rent. So Nari is working at a club for very rich men. Some guys get a little handsy with her, and Kincaid comes in and handles the situation, apologizes to her. They have a brief little moment, and after that, Kincaid is very interested in Miss Nari. Kincaid is actually engaged to be married. He is in one of those families that's heavy in the mob, and in order for him to move up, he has to be married. It wasn't giving. The plot was not there. She doesn't have friends, doesn't have family, so you're not getting those good subplots to kind of compensate for the fact that he's busy doing his mob business. So I just felt like it was dry there. The plot was dry, the characters were dry, the romance was dry, and then the spice was very low. It was there, but the scenes were, not very descriptive, which is fine. That's fine, but I'm one of those readers that if you are lacking in one area, you need to be high in something. And I'm used to when there's not a lot of romance, not a lot of plot. The authors know how to write some spice. So I didn't really like this story. Again, I almost DNF'd it. So I give it 2 stars. The next book I was super excited about, and it did not disappoint me, and that is Royce by Gray Huffington. This is book 6, I believe, in her Gray List series. Royce is the handler in the family business. The book opens up with Royce going on a date that goes to HELL, and so she gets out of the car and is like, I'm walking to my next destination, which is a hotel, to do some of her handler business. While she is on her way there, a man almost runs over her, I believe. He's really handsome. She's intrigued by him. A few days later, she gets a call from Mercer, who is the brother of chemistry. They all claim each other as one big happy family. He ends up telling her that he needs her to work on a job and come down to Berkeley. She gets down there and she meets Ishmael Grayson, who is running for mayor. Ishmael just happens to be the guy from the hotel. Sparks have already flown. This quickly moves from a business arrangement to them really having feelings for each other, really exploring what that could look like. Her being in his life, him being in her life. And I just love the romance in this book. It was giving everything. I just love how all the characters that I've grown to love within the Gray Huffington universe are all connected. And we got to see a lot more cameos in this book. I planned on giving it 5 stars, but there were 2 critiques that keep me from giving it 5, and I'm giving this book 4 stars. The first critique is that I just wanted so much more. It was so good, but it ended too soon. Like, I needed more. I wanted more of Ishmael and Royce. Like, I wanted to see their relationship really develop. My last critique is the one that I am the most uncomfortable with. While I was reading this book, I did not like the way Gray Huffington described the dark-skinned main male character. I just felt like she could have used better descriptors. She describes him as fine, he's tall, handsome, fit. But when it came to describing his skin color, I would have liked her to use better nouns, better words to describe it. It made me uncomfortable. And I know she is a Black author, so it's different because she's writing about people of her own race. I do still feel like the author could have used better wording for describing him. But overall, I did enjoy the book. The last book that I finished, that I pushed and pushed myself to finish, is Eternal Ruin by Tigest Girma. Y'all, this is book number 2 in the Immortal Dark series. I'm back with Keydon and Cicinios at this Uxley University. Immortal Dark is Black vampires. So in this book, it's a continuation from the first book, Immortal Dark. We pick up right where we left off, maybe a couple days later, where Keydon is dealing with her sister June, her disappearance, and the fallout of that. I won't get into too many details as I don't want to spoil anything from book 1. So I'll just say that we're still at Uxley. Everybody and their mama is looking for these 3 artifacts from the last sage. We get a lot of backstory in this book. A lot of new characters. History of the vampires is revealed. I love the lore, the backstory. I think the world building is pretty good. I got a better grasp on the last sage and how things came about, how Uxley came about, the political aspect, which for a person who does not like politically heavy fantasy books, I really did enjoy learning about the houses and their rankings and who has the power, who wants more power. So basically this book is everybody wants power. Everybody wants these 3 artifacts that will allow them to have more power, and everyone is out for themselves. I do feel like this book was very disjointed. Yes, we were learning some good information. There were some more character development, but I just feel like we got a lot of pretty puzzle pieces, and this story is still not coming together like it needs to. It got to a point where I was listening to this book on 3.0 speed, just trying to get through. But this author, Miss Tigest Girma, the last 20% of this book, maybe even 30, was really good. There is something that happens within the plot, and the domino effect is the story speeds up, some action happens. Finally, we get some movement happening, and I really enjoyed that last 20 to 30% of this book. So much so that I was on her Instagram like, when is the third book coming out? Because I want to read that book immediately. I am just shocked because I was hate reading this book for a while. So for me to go from hate reading to on her Instagram trying to figure out when is she releasing this third book, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to give this book 3 stars. The story is not developing as fast as it should be. The plot is really not as defined. I think the main plot is everyone looking for these 3 artifacts. However, my main critique of this book was that there was not enough action of people actively doing something to find those 3 artifacts. I'm like, do they really exist? Like, what do they look like? Can you interact with them? That is what was really driving me. And I started to compare this book to Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. If you read the first book in this series, the Magi are actually trying to find all 3 artifacts to restore magic to the Magi people. And so within this first book, this is a 3-book series, within the first book, we know where all 3 or 4 artifacts are. They are actively finding them, actively touching them, and getting magical powers again. So I just expected this story to kind of move like that, which I know you shouldn't compare authors and stories, but I just have been like, girl, do you know you got 30 minutes? Get these artifacts together. Like, let's speed this storyline right on up. But hopefully everything wraps up in this 3rd book and she just gives it all that she has, and that's where the plot is going to really be plotting, and I'm going to get what I need. This love story, she can actually keep it. I'm not even worried about that. And y'all know I am a romance girly. All I want to know is what's going to happen with these artifacts. Are the vampires going to go crazy and be sucking the blood out of everybody? Like, let's get to the action. So again, I give this book 3 stars. And I'm actually excited to read the 3rd book, which has me still in shock. Y'all, that is it for the books I read in the month of January. Get down in the comments and let me know what was the first book you read of the year. Thank you for tuning in to a Books with Kimberly video.